Have you ever felt the universe whisper your name? A song begins to play just as a memory floods your mind. A stranger speaks the very words you wrote in your journal last night. A number, 1111, 222, 333, keeps appearing, on clocks, receipts, license plates. Most brush these moments off, too afraid to consider the truth their soul already senses, that something deeper is calling. Synchronicities are not random. They are not flukes of chance or meaningless coincidences. They are the fingerprints of a hidden order, subtle nudges from the divine matrix that surrounds us. These recurring patterns, wrapped in the illusion of ordinary life, are keys left behind by the universe. They invite you to wake up, to look beyond the veil, to remember that you are part of something vast, intelligent, and alive. The modern world gave these moments a name, synchronicity, thanks to the visionary psychologist Carl Jung. But this concept is not new. Long before Jung, ancient mystics, indigenous shamans, and esoteric traditions understood these signs. They called them omens, alignments, divine echoes. They knew that reality is layered, that time is not linear, and that spirit speaks through symbols. They listened, and because they listened, they walked in harmony with the cosmos. This video is not just an explanation, it is an unveiling. Together, we will explore the mysterious origins of synchronicities, their deep philosophical and spiritual implications, and the truth that has been hidden in plain sight. We'll journey through ancient wisdom, dive into mystical traditions, decode the role of synchronicity in your spiritual awakening, and learn how to consciously align with it. This is more than information, it is activation. If you've ever felt like something greater was guiding you, this message is for you. You were not led here by accident. The signs, the numbers, the strange timings, they've all been guiding you to this moment. The question is, are you ready to see what's been calling you all along? Long before the term synchronicity entered the lexicon of psychology, the ancient world was already fluent in the language of divine alignment. To the sages of old, nothing was ever truly random. The universe, they believed, was an intelligent being, alive, aware, and always communicating. The Egyptians called it Ma'at, the sacred principle of order and cosmic balance. To the Hermetic philosophers, as above, so below, wasn't just a poetic phrase, it was a law of correspondence, a truth that all things in the heavens reflected those on earth, and vice versa. The stars didn't just shine, they spoke. The winds didn't just blow, they carried messages. And when two events intersected in improbable, meaningful ways, it was seen not as coincidence, but as a sacred clue from the divine. The oracle at Delphi in ancient Greece didn't offer answers in linear logic, she responded in symbols and riddles, often reflecting the inner state of the seeker rather than any external fact. The message was clear, reality was a mirror, and what you encountered out there was deeply entwined with what stirred within. Likewise, in ancient Chinese philosophy, the I Ching, the Book of Changes, offered wisdom not through prediction, but through synchronicity. The hexagrams it produced were not random, they revealed the energetic moment you were in, showing that your inner question and the outer universe were, in fact, the same unfolding pattern. This idea persisted across cultures. In indigenous traditions across the Americas, signs in nature, an eagle circling overhead, a deer crossing your path, were not ignored. They were guidance. In the mystical branches of Judaism, the Kabbalists believed that everything in the universe was part of a divine script, written in sacred letters and archetypes. To them, synchronicities were echoes from the tree of life, hints that the hidden realms were brushing against our world. And in the East, Buddhist and Hindu mystics spoke of karma and dharma, explaining that the threads of destiny are never tangled without purpose. Every moment, every encounter, every accident was sewn into a tapestry too vast for the rational mind to fully comprehend. Yet somehow, in the march of time and the rise of modern materialism, this sacred knowledge began to fade. The Enlightenment, with all its brilliance, cast a shadow over the mystical. It elevated reason and dismissed intuition. It taught us to measure, dissect, and categorize, but not to listen. Mysticism became myth. Symbols were reduced to superstition. The soul was replaced by circuitry. And in doing so, we silenced a language far older than words, the language of synchronicity. But truth cannot be buried forever. In the early 20th century, Carl Jung, himself deeply influenced by Gnostic texts, alchemy, and Eastern philosophy, revived this ancient wisdom under a new name, synchronicity. He described it as a meaningful coincidence, a moment when the outer world and the inner psyche converge with uncanny precision. To Jung, these moments were not anomalies to be ignored, but evidence of a deeper order at work. He believed they pointed to the existence of the unus mundus, the one world, an underlying unity beneath all apparent dualities. In his collaborations with quantum physicist Wolfgang Pauli, Jung even speculated that synchronicities might reveal something fundamental about the very structure of reality, something science had not yet dared to name. What Jung tapped into was not a new idea, but a resurrection of something ancient. A bridge between the wisdom of mystics and the inquiry of modern minds. A reminder that while we've charted the stars and split the atom, the greatest mystery still lies within, and it speaks to us in patterns, symbols, and sacred alignments. So why has this knowledge been forgotten? Partly because it threatens the illusion of control. Synchronicity reminds us that we are not isolated, random fragments, but part of a living whole. That terrifies the ego, which craves certainty and dominance. And partly because synchronicity can't be commodified. You can't buy it, package it, or sell it. It arrives unbidden, humbling, awe-inspiring. It speaks not to the intellect, but to the soul. Yet now, in an age of awakening, more and more seekers are beginning to hear its call once again. And if you're watching this, perhaps you are one of them. To truly understand synchronicity, we must step beyond the analytical mind and into the heart of mystical perception. Synchronicities are not just events that occur at the same time, they are revelations. They are windows into the architecture of a universe that is not mechanical, but alive, responsive, and steeped in symbolism. Imagine reality not as a straight line, but as a web, an infinite matrix where every thread is connected. When you tug at one thread, through thought, emotion, or intention, the web responds. The universe, in this view, is not passive. It is an echo chamber for consciousness. This is why synchronicities often increase during periods of spiritual awakening or emotional intensity. When your inner world becomes charged, when you begin to question, to seek, to heal, or to transform, you vibrate differently. Your frequency shifts. And the universe, like a tuning fork, begins to harmonize with your new signal. Suddenly, signs appear. Conversations line up with dreams. You think of someone, and they call. You feel a strange pull to go somewhere, and there, something important unfolds. These are not hallucinations. These are alignments. At its core, synchronicity is a sacred dialogue between you and the unseen realms. It's not just about cause and effect, it's about meaning. Unlike linear logic, which insists everything must have a traceable origin, synchronicity operates through resonance. It's more like a dream than a calculation. Two events may have no direct causal link, but they vibrate with the same essence, the same archetypal energy. This is why synchronicities are deeply personal. What feels meaningful to you may pass unnoticed by someone else. They are tailored to your spiritual code, your symbols, your language, your soul's curriculum. Think of it this way: your life is a story, and synchronicities are the cosmic footnotes reminding you that someone, or something, is co-authoring it with you. The more aware you become, the more these coincidences accumulate, as if reality itself is trying to get your attention. And when you notice them, acknowledge them, follow them, they multiply. It's as if the universe says, "Ah, you're listening. Now let me show you more." This is why many people report that once they begin walking a spiritual path, meditating, journaling, exploring consciousness, the synchronicities don't just increase, they accelerate. It's not just because they're paying more attention. It's because they're stepping into alignment. The inner and outer worlds begin to mirror each other more clearly. It becomes harder to separate thought from manifestation, desire from occurrence, intention from outcome. What you feel inside begins to shape what appears outside. And yet, these experiences don't always arrive in grand, cinematic moments. Sometimes, synchronicities are quiet, almost imperceptible. A word on a billboard. A line in a book. A sudden knowing that floods your body with clarity. These are the whispers of spirit, not the shouts. But to the open-hearted, they are thunderous in meaning. Consider this: what if every synchronicity you've ever experienced was not just a coincidence, but a message? What if those strange alignments were not random, but orchestrated? What if every 11:11, every dream that came true, every serendipitous meeting was your soul remembering something it already knew? This is where the mystery deepens. Because if synchronicities are real, and deeply meaningful, then you must also ask, who or what is sending them? Is it your higher self? The universe itself? Guides, ancestors, divine intelligence? Perhaps all of the above. Or perhaps the sender and the receiver are one and the same, split only by the illusion of separation. Synchronicity invites you to awaken to this paradox. That you are both the dreamer and the dreamed. The questioner and the answer. And the more you embrace this, the more the veils between the seen and unseen begin to dissolve. The puzzle pieces are all around you. The signs, the symbols, the strange timings, they are not random. They are invitations. Keys. And when you learn how to read them, you unlock more than just guidance. You unlock the hidden map of your soul's path. Now that we understand synchronicity as a sacred dialogue between the inner and outer worlds, we must explore its deeper, more hidden layers, those which elude easy definition. Synchronicities do not merely confirm that we are on the right path. Sometimes, they are designed to disrupt, to crack the shell of our current perception. They are not always warm affirmations. They can be wild, haunting, even uncomfortable, because their purpose is not comfort. Their purpose is awakening. This is why synchronicities often arrive at crossroads. Moments of crisis. Moments of longing. Moments where logic fails, and the soul cries out for something more. These alignments are messengers of transition. Just as a shaman must cross the threshold of the unknown to retrieve deeper truth, so too must the initiate, the spiritual seeker, learn to follow these signs not as decorations, but as directives. They demand courage, because the more you follow synchronicity, the more you are asked to surrender control. And yet, the human mind resists. The rational ego wants certainty, causality, predictability. It wants to believe that life can be measured, mapped, and managed. And when synchronicity disrupts that, when it shows us that the universe is not mechanical, but magical, it can feel threatening. That's why so many dismiss it as confirmation bias or coincidence. It's safer that way. But safety is not the aim of spiritual evolution. Growth is. And growth often requires us to step into the unexplainable. This is where myths and misconceptions cloud the waters. Many believe synchronicity only appears as repeating numbers, angel numbers like 1111 or 444, or as fairy tale level chance encounters. But this limits the infinite creativity of the divine. Yes, numbers are powerful symbols, encoded with vibrational meaning. But synchronicity can emerge in infinite forms, a lyric that pierces your heart, a child's words that answer a question you never voiced aloud, an animal appearing precisely when you feel lost. The moment is not defined by its spectacle, but by the feeling it evokes, like a tuning fork vibrating in your soul. And yet, not all synchronicities are divine interventions. Some are echoes of unconscious energy patterns, reflections of unresolved emotions or karmic loops playing out in your life. That's where discernment becomes crucial. A repeated pattern may not be a sign from the universe, it might be your own shadow calling for attention. That's the paradox of synchronicity. It can be a divine message or a psychological mirror. Often, it's both. To truly work with synchronicity, you must learn to interpret symbols, not just see them. Every spiritual tradition throughout history has taught its initiates to decode the language of the invisible. The tarot, the I Ching, runes, dream symbols, astrology, all of these are frameworks for interpreting synchronicity. They help us assign meaning to the seemingly random, so that we may read the signs like scripture written across the canvas of our lives. Even science, at its fringes, begins to whisper in agreement. Quantum physics tells us that the observer affects the observed, that consciousness interacts with reality in ways we do not fully understand. Non-locality, entanglement, the unified field, these concepts echo the ancient truths mystics have always known, that everything is connected, and that meaning exists beneath the surface of what we call real. Carl Jung himself believed that synchronicity might be the bridge between the psychic and the physical. That archetypes, the universal symbols embedded in the human psyche, could activate events in the external world, not through force, but through resonance. He saw the unconscious mind as not merely personal, but collective, a shared field of knowing that connects all beings. And when something within you aligns with the pattern in that field, the universe responds. Not out of obligation, but out of harmony. But here lies the deepest secret. Synchronicity is not just a signpost, it is a call to transcend duality. It asks you to look past the illusion of separation between self and cosmos, between mind and matter, between fate and free will. It suggests that perhaps you are not being guided by the universe, but rather, you are the universe guiding itself. That the soul, the divine, the dreamer behind all dreams, is you, remembering itself through signs. And so, when synchronicity strikes, when that surreal moment pierces the veil, pause. Don't just marvel. Listen. Feel. Ask, what part of me called this into being? What truth is trying to emerge? Because the real power of synchronicity is not in the event itself, but in what it awakens within you. Awareness. Alignment. Destiny. To work with synchronicity is to become a conscious participant in your own unfolding. It is not enough to passively notice signs, you must engage with them, respond to them, and most importantly, prepare yourself to receive them. The first step is cultivating awareness. This may sound simple, but in a world designed to distract, remaining truly attentive is a spiritual discipline. Begin by slowing down. Observe the subtle details of your day, the words that repeat, the emotions that surge without explanation, the symbols that unexpectedly appear. Journal your experiences, not only the overt synchronicities but the questions you were holding before they occurred. Over time, patterns emerge. And when they do, you'll find that reality has been speaking to you all along. To sharpen this awareness, establish sacred time each day to commune with the unseen. Meditation, breathwork, stillness, these create the inner quiet required to hear the whisper behind the world. The mind must be softened for synchronicity to land. In meditation, you are not merely emptying thought, you are becoming the still pond in which divine reflections can appear. Ask a question before you meditate. Hold it gently, without demanding an answer. Then, release it into the field. Often, within hours or days, a book will fall off a shelf. A stranger will mention something in passing. A dream will reveal a path. But here's the key, you must be open enough to recognize the answer when it comes in unexpected form. Next, learn to dialogue with synchronicity. Treat it as a living presence. When a sign appears, ask it questions. What is it pointing toward? What energy does it carry? How does it make you feel? Where in your life does this message want to take root? Synchronicity is not merely informational, it is transformational. It's not just there to guide your decisions, but to evolve your perception. Working with it is like learning a new language, one made of symbols, timing, and intuition rather than logic. Ritual can deepen this relationship. Create a personal altar or sacred space where you keep objects that have shown up through synchronicity, stones, feathers, coins, words written on scraps of paper. These are not superstitions, they are touchstones, reminders of your dialogue with the divine. You might also consider drawing daily cards from an oracle deck or casting runes not to predict the future, but to attune yourself to the present. These tools don't create synchronicity, they amplify your receptivity to it. And with time, you'll begin to see that every moment holds potential meaning, waiting for your consciousness to unlock it. Now, let us address a common trap, overanalysis. When the signs begin to flow, it's easy to fall into obsession. Not every number sequence is a divine command. Not every coincidence is a cosmic instruction. The key is resonance. If something stirs your heart, if it lands in your body like a truth already known, pay attention. If it feels forced or creates anxiety, step back. True synchronicity brings a sense of awe, not fear. It feels like a quiet bell ringing inside your soul, not a mental scramble for control. Another pitfall is inaction. Many receive signs but are afraid to follow them. They hesitate, doubt, rationalize. But synchronicity is only as powerful as the choices it inspires. When a door opens, walk through it. When a moment feels charged with mystery, explore it. The universe rewards courage, not perfection. Trust is the key that unlocks the next layer. And even when you misread a sign or take a detour, the path recalibrates. Synchronicity is not fragile, it's persistent. It will find you again. Finally, recognize that synchronicity is not meant to replace discernment, it is meant to enhance it. Your intuition is your compass. Your inner knowing is the translator of cosmic language. The more you honor it, the clearer the signs become. Over time, you will develop your own symbolic lexicon, your own intimate way of reading the universe. A hawk may mean one thing to you, a completely different thing to another. That's the beauty of it. Synchronicity is personal. Tailored. It meets you where you are and speaks in the voice you most understand. When practiced with sincerity, this path of synchronicity becomes a mystical art. You begin to live in rhythm with a higher intelligence. You stop pushing so hard and start listening more deeply. Life becomes less about control and more about cooperation with the unseen. It is then that reality softens. That the miraculous feels natural. That the ordinary begins to shimmer with the sacred. This is the gift of synchronicity, not just signs, but sight. And so we arrive at the edge of the known, peering into the mystery that has always been there, beneath the surface of our lives, shimmering like a hidden stream beneath stone. Synchronicity is not merely an experience, it is a revelation. A reminder that we are not separate fragments drifting in chaos, but integral notes in a grand, living symphony. Each moment of alignment, each mysterious encounter or perfectly timed event, is not chance, it is orchestration. A gentle hand behind the veil saying, "You are not lost. You are being led." This knowledge, long whispered through ancient mystery schools, hidden behind metaphors in sacred texts, encoded in myth and symbol, is now rising again into our awareness. We are remembering that time is not linear, that consciousness shapes reality, that there is a deeper order at play beyond what the eyes can see. Synchronicity is the universe speaking to you in its most poetic tongue, offering breadcrumbs that lead you back to your truth, your path, your divine nature. When you honor these moments, you step into an ancient dance between spirit and form, thought and manifestation, soul and cosmos. But let this truth also humble you. Synchronicity is not something you control, it is something you align with. It is not a tool for egoic desire or a trick to predict outcomes. It is sacred communication. The more you trust it, the more it trusts you. And over time, your life becomes not a series of disconnected episodes, but a living myth, one where even the shadows serve the light, and every detour has meaning. So ask yourself now, what signs have I ignored? What messages have I dismissed as coincidence? What would happen if I began to truly listen? If you dare to walk this path with open eyes and an open heart, the world will begin to glow with subtle light. The mundane will become magical. And the silent spaces between events will echo with divine intelligence. This is the secret that every spiritualist must come to know, not just intellectually, but in the marrow of their being, that life is not random. It is rich with guidance, intelligence, and mystery. Synchronicities are not anomalies. They are the very fabric of a universe that is alive, conscious, and in constant conversation with your soul. If this truth stirred something within you, if a memory, a dream, or a recent coincidence suddenly seems more important than you thought, then this message was meant for you. Trust that. And if you feel called to explore this mystery further, to decode the signs and align your life with deeper meaning, then let this be your invitation. The signs are already there. The only question is, are you ready to see them? If this resonated with you, share your most powerful synchronicity in the comments below. And if you feel others need to hear this, pass it on. The universe always knows who needs the message.